Hey, sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to B-Ball Breakdown's live post-game show after Game 5 of the Spurs versus Thunder, and what a game it was. Another blowout. Can you believe it? And it had nothing to do with Matt Bonner starting either. It was an interesting opening to a game where they were slugging it out, trying to feel each other out like boxers would until somebody broke, and obviously the Thunder broke a lot earlier into that second quarter. And, we've talked a lot about Boris Diaw in the past and how important he is, and that's really the key here. When he can give them positive plays and be aggressive, and, he passes up a lot of open shots early in the shot clock, which is fine with me because he wants to find a better shot. But when he becomes aggressive then and builds shots for other players by driving and dishing, that's when they're as good as they are tonight. You throw in the fact that Tony Parker was a lot more aggressive in spots. He kind of disappeared for a while as well, but in spots he was good. And I have to wonder if he's still suffering from his hamstring injury, I believe is what it was. So he might just be kind of going back and forth and not being able to give it all the time. But when they can get Diaw making plays, because Tim Duncan did not look that good either. A real quick look at his stats for the game, and Duncan ended up he did shoot better, 8 for 13. And 12 rebounds. Wow, that was the quietest 22 and 12 I've seen from him in a long time because, the shots that I kept seeing him miss were sort of like close and easy, and they kind of rushed them. But forgive me, he actually made a lot of those. We'll have to go look through that and see exactly what that's about. But another headline here is with Durant, 11 for 21, so that's a very efficient stat line for 25 points. But he missed 3 free throws. He definitely looked tired in the last 2 that he missed. And that's the other issue is, are they wearing down? Scott Brooks has not protected their minutes very much at all for the entire year. And there's no question at some point, like earlier-ish in that third quarter, OKC looked a lot tired. They both looked tired, but OKC looked more tired. And we know that they don't have a deep enough bench when the Spurs can throw out everybody like Ginobili. Then they had Splitter coming off the bench, which worked well for them. And then you throw Patty Mills. Bellinelli didn't do so well, but at least he's an able body. So they have more to bring off the bench and get more execution on the Spurs end. So that's what's going to wear them out. So again, it's a kind of a crazy series. I don't think I can ever remember 5 straight games of blowouts like this. I know we've seen back to back here and there, but this is something different. And it's really fascinating to watch how these coaches are adjusting. So we've seen. I can guarantee you it won't be Bonner again. I bet you Diaw is going to start. Which is what I was worried, or it was strange to me to start this game that he would have thrown Bonner out there, primarily because Bonner simply hasn't played. It's a very tall order to have a player who hasn't played at all go in there and try and perform and do well when they don't have any kind of rhythm or any kind of experience this year playing in the playoffs at all. I liken it to when they brought Lamb in the third quarter. Again, it's a crucial part of the game when they're trying to get back into it. But Lamb did not get any kind of a run in the first half, so now he's been sitting. He's cold. He's already been up and down with his playing time as it is, and then you're asking to do well. It's a really tough situation for anybody, much less a young player like Lamb. So those are the perils you have when you're coaching and you try and keep these guys fresh and in the game. So what do you say? Let's jump over to Twitter and see if we have some questions first. Let me find my mouse here. And let's see here. You go quick screen share and find our Twitter. Where's our Twitter? Oh my goodness gracious sakes alive. Okay, so don't forget, if you want to ask a question, get on Twitter and use the hashtag #BBallShow, and we will get to them. So here we go. Here it is. Will the Spurs win the series? Maybe I should make this bigger so we can all read it. Sirocco wants to know, will the Spurs win the series now, or is this just the home team taking care of business again? I don't have a lot of faith in the Spurs on the road yet because of this. So right now, it's such an up-and-down series. It's hard to know what's going to happen with this. So I would not be surprised to see the Thunder hold court again, and then that means the Spurs will probably win Game 7 at home, which is what normally happens. I really helped a lot with your B-ball IQ. Well, hey, my pleasure, Constantine. The series is not over by a long stretch. Not when you have guys like Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant that can detonate like they can do. So, I would think that, I'd be real careful about giving any early predictions right now. So, let's see here. Fernando wants to know, his friend says that Manu Ginobili owned the game. Do I agree? I have to think. I think that Diaw might have had a more profound effect, even though his numbers weren't as good. But all around, Diaw ended up going with 13 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, compared to Manu, who had 19 points, 6 assists, and 4 rebounds. They both had a terrific effect in the game, and Manu was terrific. They had the energy, and I think that's the problem when you get to be a certain age. That energy is harder to come by, and when you're home, you can get it. And I think that's what the Spurs are kind of dealing with a little bit in that respect. Josh wants to know, I realize the home court advantage is incredibly important. What exactly does it do? It magically allows Spurs to be at their best. Well, like I just said, when the Spurs need energy, if you've never played in front of 19,000 people, you can imagine what kind of boost you can get. And that's what it's about with the Spurs. When they can play with energy and defend with passion like they didn't do in OKC, then they have a good shot. But when they don't cut through strong, when they don't move the ball, it's hard to play that way. You need to have the energy, and they can feed off the home court and that cheering. It's amazing how well it works. Plus the referees, can probably give you a break here or there. Who on the OKC bench can save Game 6? That's an interesting question. Because who's going to make plays? Well, is Lamb the kind of guy that can make plays like Diaw? Like, who's their Diaw? And right now, they're not getting that kind of production from anybody off of their bench. So you're right. So it's a problem. And then they're going to have to play their starters a lot of minutes, and that's going to tire them out. So OKC really doesn't have anybody off that bench. It's going to have to be KD and Russ. Is this series doomed? I wouldn't call it doomed. I want a Game 7. Let's have it. 2 quick ones from the East Coast, Coach. What is the Spurs' kryptonite as a team, and who do you see them drafting? The Spurs' kryptonite is a good question. I think speed is their kryptonite. When you have that long athletic ability and they get going, then they can really cause problems. And that seems to be the biggest issue. Who do I see the Spurs drafting? Yeah, you know what? I've been so focused on the top of the draft, I don't even know who's going to be available at the bottom right now. But I have a feeling they'll probably draft a European or a senior out of college. That's my prediction. Coach, don't you think OKC are giving up so many open threes going under screens instead of fighting over? I got to look more closely at that to see, because their defense is kind of all over the place, and they rely on their athletic ability to make up for any kind of perilous situation they get into because their fundamentals aren't there. So I wouldn't be surprised if they did do that a lot and just rely on the fact they could jump out quickly, and that doesn't work so well all the time. If I were to bring a player to the Spurs, Alfred, who would it be and why? Oh, wow. Who was I just thinking about that would be really good with the Spurs? I mean, listen, anybody's going to be really good with the Spurs, but I bet you George Hill wishes he can get back to Spurs right now. He'd be a lot better of a player. Then there are the guys that are probably rotting on a bench somewhere that can't get in. That would be perfect. I don't know. But the guy who I think would be really great is the guy out of Creighton. He'll get drafted a lot earlier, but McDermott would be perfect for the Spurs as well. Let's see here. Moloch says, the series is clearly ability versus coaching, but which would you back to succeed against Miami? Yeah, that's a good question. I still think that, because their ability might not get affected by Miami's pressure as much, the OKC's. So they could probably handle it now, having gone through it once before 2 years ago, or whenever that was. 2 years ago, 3 years ago now, or 2 years. Either way. So they would be able to do okay, but I think I'd always go with coaching either way. Did the Spurs win by offense or defense? I mean, it's kind of a nice mixture of both, but certainly their defense was a lot better in containing them. But that's not to say that the Thunder missed open shots. They did get shots that were open, and they missed a number of them. So they got away with a little bit on their own. Do these Spurs remind you of the 08 Celtics from a road home playoff difference? Let's see here. You know what? I don't remember. I can't remember 6 years ago. Sorry. Evan, who do you got in Game 6? I don't know. I'm probably gonna go with the Thunder at home. It's been one of those series. It's impossible to predict. So I have to go with the home team. What did the Spurs make that caused them to play so well tonight? Well, they finally got Diaw more aggressive and attacking, and I think I got to look at it a little bit more closely in the breakdown, but I'm fairly certain that it was a lot to do with Diaw attacking and flaring to the corners more. As we showed in our breakdown on the Ibaka effect, the problem they were having was Diaw was getting stuck on the top of the circle, and that was allowing Ibaka to ignore him and just float into the lane. And he probably was getting away with illegal defense, but still, when they can put Diaw in the corners or on the wings, that's a whole other animal. That forces Ibaka to really have to be on his side of the floor if it's the weak side, and that makes it harder for Ibaka to have that effect, and they opened up lanes, and that's what they did. They got him moving more, and that spread the floor. Easy fix in theory, but it just took him a little while to figure it out. How is it the Spurs can mysteriously turn on or lose their systemic offense so easily? I think it's a question I like to ask Popovich if he wouldn't get mad at me. It's an interesting question. When you have a team that works on passing so well and sharing and movement, it just could be par for the course, and it's a natural progression that at some point it does break down. Because remember, there's a defense out there, and that defense is playing, is denying passes and making it hard and bumping them and all those kind of things. So it's not as easy as just saying, oh, we'll just cut there, we'll get the pass, it's easy peasy. The Thunder, like I said, it's energy that the home crowd brings, but there definitely was an adjustment with how they had Diaw moving and attacking and being more what's the word I'm looking for? More aggressive. It really helped them. How much of Game 5 was OKC cold shooting? Oh, good question. It just looks like what I mentioned. There was a lot of shots OKC would make, and that's also, being on the road in unfamiliar territory. So let's go to the video because I have some video to show you. What do you guys think about that? Let me cue that up real quick. Do I have it open? Did I prepare myself? Let me double. Oh boy, can I double click it yet? Oh, sorry. Let me turn the sound off. All right, so let me see if this will work here while I share the screen. And let's break into some video breakdown. What do you say? And you know what? Let's tweet this out. Let everyone know. Live video breakdown right now. And then why don't you guys retweet that if you are out there? Don't forget B-Ball Show hashtag will be to answer will be questions. So let's get to the first thing I grabbed, which was 10:03 in the first. Oh, right here. Let's see. Did I get enough of it? Okay. So here's the Spurs are coming down in transition off a missed shot early. So when I say early, it means they shouldn't be tired yet, right? But watch Perkins here with his awful effort in transition. Because remember, when you're playing in the playoffs, every possession is a do or die. You got to give out every single time. But watch how Perkins. So Perkins just doesn't move his feet, waves with the ball. Reggie Jackson lets middle penetration. Remember, he should have had his right foot all the way around and forced into the baseline, and then maybe Ibaka could have come over or Durant. Durant, by the way, is getting a lot of blocks as well, so he could come over and they could rotate. But instead, when you let middle penetration, even non-all-stars look like all-stars when they get to the middle. So he just waves by and doesn't get in there. But here's the real kicker, because Tony misses it. And then Perkins doesn't block out, doesn't try and back up and get a body on Duncan, and he gives up the offensive rebound. Let's scan. Oh boy, this is so hard to make this work. Okay. Anyway, all right. So you saw that there was a putback by Duncan. Let's move on to with 8 minutes ago, and we had the darn. All right. So with 8 minutes ago, I want to show you Tony Parker with some bad defense on Reggie, who gets a layup. So let's see what happens here. So Reggie Jackson opened up the game looking really good, and that was probably indicative of getting all that swelling out of the ankle, and it started out well. He probably was on some painkillers, but eventually it wears down. I know I had ankle problems all over the place when I played, and eventually it takes the energy out of you when you're in pain with your ankles. But in the very beginning, and you can see that even though Reggie's starting, Russell Westbrook brings the ball up probably as much as he normally would. So it's not like that makes Russell go off the ball. But they initiate with a little handoff to a pick and roll, and you're going to see they're going to go, wow, Danny Green goes under the screen, probably primarily because the screen was set, 6 feet behind the three-point line. So here's what happens now. This is what I don't like about OKC's offense. He swings it, but then he's already too close. This is already bad spacing, if you can see my mouse pointer. Now he just stops in his tracks. There's no flow. The play doesn't really exist beyond throw it to Reggie. Here comes the screen up here. So they're going to try and contain that, and he goes underneath, which is fine. But now, watch, he goes on the wrong side. You got to keep these guys pinned. Look where Bonner is. Bonner can help toward the baseline, but Tony Parker can't go underneath to the sideline side of that screen. It gives up middle penetration, and that's an easy finish. And Duncan is not Duncan like he used to be anymore, and that gives him up a nice, easy lefty layup. A nice play by Reggie Jackson. Let's go to a little bit farther down. Okay, so the Spurs again have some trouble here on offense, where we're gonna pick on Bonner. Oh, I see. This is going to be on a rotation. So far, so good. We got Duncan on Perkins, Green on Durant. So this is the big adjustment they made to start, and for most of the game, was having Kawhi Leonard on Russell Westbrook, which is interesting, but I don't think it was that successful overall. If you look at all the possessions, Russell probably did score on quite a number of those against Kawhi. So they run a little play here where, again, look how far Durant ends up dribbling over. This is not good spacing. It just clogs everything up, but it's the same play they ran before. And here is Reggie. Now, remember what happened. Parker was on the wrong side last time. It gave him middle penetration. Well, now Parker's on the right side, forcing him to the sideline. But there's Bonner ready to contain. And that's good. And then they flip it around, okay? So this is all good up until this point. So now they chased. Now at this point, let's see, Danny Green had rotated over. Now, once Bonner sees this, you have Parker is on Reggie Jackson. You got Green on Serge Ibaka, which is weird, but it's okay because Serge isn't really a threat to put the ball on the ground. He can handle that. Bonner needs to see this and just start sprinting right away toward Durant. That's all he has to do. But watch, he doesn't. He goes to them. He might have called it out. Danny, you get Kevin Durant. No way Danny Green can guard Ibaka and then follow the pass. The pass is always much faster than a guy running. He doesn't get there, and he gets an open three. Okay? That's all Bonner. Now, Bonner is yelling something at him, and I think maybe Bonner was mad that Green rotated in the first place, and that could very well be the breakdown. Green, what he probably should have done is stunt at Ibaka, and we've seen this before where actually, remember in our last breakdown, Green left too early, and then Ibaka got the open shot, right? So he's got to stay there just long enough to run back, but here he ends up just out. Oh, I see. So he actually did do it. Danny Green's in an unenviable position. I can see why, but what I just described I thought would have been better to have Bonner run over and contain. That's just not a recipe for success right there. But I can see why Bonner was mad. Bonner didn't want him to come over and rotate that far. That confused Bonner when Green did that. So let's go to 255 here. Let's see if I can just use the arrow and skip so I can still see. Oh, here we go. So now here the Spurs opened up in a zone out of a timeout. And it's a, I believe, did I write it down right? Let's see here. Oh, yeah. So they're going to have a timeout. Let me skip the commercials here. Okay. So it's always nice to change your defense out of a timeout to screw around with the offense. So here it's a 3-2 or a 1-2-2. Somebody will. Oh, actually, this you could argue it's a 1-3-1. I got into an argument on Twitter about this, and you know what? This is a 1-3-1. You can see Tony Parker is up on top, and Diaw is across with Splitter coming up. I mean, it's kind of hard because they're matching up a little bit, but yeah, I would go with 1-3-1 here. And so now they run. It's not a bad idea to screen the ball there, and they do a nice job, except for the fact that Splitter in a zone needs to be a little bit more in that middle part towards the ball on this 1-3-1. So watch what happens. Now I know Splitter needs to be near a guy because it'll be illegal defense if he doesn't. But you can't. And he does a nice job finding the ball for a second. But yeah, it's a good play by Russ. I can see why Splitter had to do it. Splitter felt like he had to get his both feet out of the lane so he wouldn't get called for 3 seconds. But remember, you have 3 seconds, and he didn't even give himself like 1.5. And then watch his footwork on this, if you can. You know, he just kind of did a jump stop, got his feet way too close together, and couldn't push off real well to challenge, and a great dunk off of that 1-3-1 zone. But I love seeing zones. This is great stuff by Pop. So let's go over to what they call the strong open roll. We got to see Popovich call it and read his lips. So let's find out what the strong open roll is for the Spurs, shall we? So in that timeout, we won't show you, but you can see it. So he had called it. We had a nice shot of it. Of course. Okay. So they have three different kind of things here. They have a zipper, weak, and strong. And strong means the strong side. So the point guard is going to bring the ball up on his own to the wing, and that's the strong part of it. Then let's see, what I call open roll. So I can see here where this is basically like their main motion offense, where they set a double weak side screen for Danny Green coming up, and he curls, and then that turns into a pick and roll. So that must be the roll part. So open roll has to be the direction that they're setting it, I imagine, where open, I guess, means toward the middle, I'm assuming. And then they get a nice little cut through. The offense keeps flowing, even though OKC did a nice job. You can see how, because the passer is the key here, when he passes the ball and cuts instead of standing still like OKC does, you kind of always will have rhythm and motion. So they get then Fisher knocks the ball out of bounds. So that's interesting. Now we have let's see here, the next play. So good denial, Fisher. Okay, so we're going to see some good defense here where they obviously, okay, so they know the play, right? And because they're running a little bit of their own version of strong, where the point guard brings the ball up to the wing and swings it. They're going to want to go here to the elbow area to Fisher. And Patty Mills, they've scouted this, and they probably said to themselves, don't let him catch the ball there. Let's blow this offense up right from the start. So you can see Patty Mills is on the total wrong side of Fisher, right? He knows that he's got some help on the weak side here with Splitter, so he can be there. So totally take the, and look at that, even Diaw comes over because he knows that Collison isn't a big threat from beyond the three-point line. And so they totally blow it up. So now look what happens. They really have nothing. They're now at, let's see here, 12 seconds. They haven't run anything. They haven't gotten any kind of passing, and yet they end up breaking down the defense anyway. So that's sort of when we're talking about athletic ability and sort of plays over system. There was never any sort of secondary action if they can't get what they wanted to begin with, and that's always a huge problem. That's why I like the triangle, because you run something, but you can always pass it any of your four teammates at any time, so you're never at a loss to flow into something else, and that will guarantee you more consistently better shots. So let's break over to our questions on YouTube and see what we got there before I go through some more plays. Where is my YouTube comments window? Here it is. Okay, can we read that? Is that big enough? I probably have to go one larger, huh? Oh, that's not Twitter. Where's my? There we go. All right, YouTube. Okay. So this time I put it in order the way they came in. So hopefully we'll get some of the older questions first. We scroll down here. So let's see here. The first question we have is, why was Coach Pop so disappointed in the last game? The second unit put in the work later in the fourth. You know, I think sometimes you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. And Pop just sort of sensed it wasn't happening in the last game, and it really wasn't even earlier in the third quarter. And so, you know, sometimes you got to let the other guys get some experience in those situations on the bench. Coach Scott Brooks is stupid. He's by far the worst coach in the NBA. A little bit of hyperbole here. So Butler can guard Diaw and Ibaka and Duncan just to have the rim protector, but Perkins can't guard the paint. Right. Well, we've all been pretty clear. I'm not a big fan of Perkins out there at all. And every once in a while he makes a play, but he's just a liability on so many different ends. Coach, what kind of videos will you make in the summer? Yeah, we'll do plenty of retro breakdowns. When we go to Summer League, which is going to be like pretty much right after the finals, you know, you're going to get from me, I would say, minimum 50 or 60 interviews. And plus, we'll have plenty of player breakdowns. We're going to get on the court with some NBA guys and other guys and do a ton of on-court demos. Those are really popular. I'm really excited to get on the court and show you the coaching side of me when I get to be on the court and break down really cool individual plays, break down offensive sets, break down zones, all sorts of stuff. So we have these great ideas that you guys have submitted. So you keep doing that, we'll put them down on the list. Let's see here. Coach, possible reasons for Thunder loss. Westbrook and KD tired. They certainly look tired in the third quarter, without a doubt. You know, the Spurs adjustments were I think were still somewhat minor because the Bonner one was kind of, you know, was not that, didn't really work so well. So I'm thinking that it was getting Diaw more aggressive. Spoelstra's a really success. Spoelstra's a good coach. You can't. These guys are good coaches. You can't put it all on them at this point. Mystifying sometimes, but they know of what they speak. How is it that the Spurs can mysteriously turn on or lose? Yeah, we already answered that question. Remember, when home court advantage didn't mean you get all the 50-50 calls from the refs, but actually support from fans, right? Well, I don't know. Did it really feel like they got all the calls tonight? It's tough because the Spurs did it without the refs tonight, so it didn't really come up, luckily. If I were building a team, which front court duo would I prefer? A healthy Bogut and Lee or a healthy Noah and Boozer? I would say, oh, wow, it's a good question. I like Noah, you know, I really do. I think I like Noah better than Bogut. I think I like David Lee better than Boozer. That's a tough one. If we could mix them together, I would take Noah and David Lee. Hey, maybe the Bulls should do that. Let's see here. Kenny Smith had a good point. Whoa. About the Thunder, and for them to pull it off, they have to win 4 out of 5 games to advance because the Spurs dug them in a 2-0-2 hole. They had to win 4 out of 5 games. That is true. Yep, that makes sense to me. I mean, is that a good point or is that just math? Hey, Coach, what effect did you think starting Bonner had, if any, in this game? Like I said, not much. Is there a coach that can compete with Pop for best coach? No. Pop is head and shoulders above everybody else. Carlisle is in the mix a little bit, but Pop is the gold standard. What will happen to Spurs roster and coaching staff if they lose the series? I don't know. It's a question. I don't know. I think if they win the whole thing, I bet you Tim Duncan and Pop retire. I have a feeling that's what's going to happen. I don't know what would happen if they lost. It's a good question. But they're definitely halfway out the door. The depth of the Spurs is killing the Thunder. I don't know if it's killing them, but it's certainly helping. It's helping them more than the bench on the Thunder. Reggie Jackson didn't look the same after the first quarter. Yeah, I mean, no question, his ankle, he probably stiffened up, and you can't push it off. It's real hard. They need him 100% without a doubt. They need him like he was playing in the beginning. Do I think that Reggie Jackson was more of a positive or negative for the Thunder? I thought he was a positive no matter what. I mean, when he kind of started having problems, he wasn't a negative. He was just sort of neutral, and that's going to hurt them. And they need him. That starting lineup works well. They need him there. I think I wouldn't change that. Why has Kawhi been so ineffective this series? I think this is just the Kawhi learning and growing up and figuring it out, because he looked really good in the beginning, even though his stats, they're good. They're 14-7. So he's still just trying to figure out how to be the man, and they're not quite ready for him to do it yet. So he's going to be up and down. But every minute he gets closer and closer. Hi, Coach Nick. How do you think in Game 6 Spurs will close out the series? Thank you. Yeah, we will absolutely make. In fact, tomorrow we're going to compare horns by the Spurs and horns by the Thunder in tonight's game, because both teams ran it so gosh darn much. So I think that the Spurs will continue to get Diaw active, and they'll probably start him, and that will have a bigger difference than anything else we've seen so far. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that affected Westbrook. They definitely looked a little bit tired, and the pace of this game was really fast. I need to look at the numbers, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was the fastest paced game, at least through 3 quarters. The Spurs don't draw plays for Bellinelli. He doesn't quite merit it, I guess. He's going to get his shots in the scheme of what they run. Why does Steven Adams have to be more effective? Is he getting enough minutes? What does he have to do? I mean, Steven Adams is doing great. He's not going to get a lot of shots on this team. But he got, let's see here. He didn't even block a shot. He's just got to keep doing what he's doing. Be ready, catch the ball when they throw it to him, get those tip-ins. He probably could go. He could make more plays on the offensive boards, and for sure. For whatever reason, he didn't have much of an effect there, and that's going to be big for them if he can make some more plays in the offensive rebounding category. Let's see here. We getting close to the top here. Thunder's best lineup: Adams, Ibaka, KD, Reggie, Westbrook. Yeah, there's no question it's not their best lineup when they have Perkins in there. Let's see. I just got in here. What the hell is going on in the series? These teams just have no ability to play on the road. It's certainly an energy thing with both these teams, and it helps when they're at home. And it's also a chess match, and there's no questions. Brooks was able to win the chess match in games 3 and 4, and with what they did with Diaw and having him attack from different spots really helped the Spurs tonight. Lamb, Collison, and Perkins can be blamed for the Thunder's loss because they can't contribute. Lamb didn't even get in there into the third quarter. That's real hard to do. Collison, I think, was the same. It's just hard when you get minutes that are so inconsistent like they do. Perkins, you can blame all you like, I guess. He's just not a factor. 0 for 1. Actually, that's not true. Didn't he? Oh, no, yeah, 0 for 1 on a terrible shot. 6 rebounds in 16 minutes is whatever, 4 fouls. He's just not getting it done. Let's see here. How about this? Should I go and we got a few more video clips I can go through. Let's see here. Let's go back and screen share. It's a little bit more video here. That's always fun. So I have some third quarter video clips to go through. Oh, actually, I didn't go through the second quarter, did I? Let's go through the second quarter. and then we'll finish that up because we're already running a little bit behind. I'm going to get a guy to be able to get all these clips for me queued up so we don't have to go through all this soon. So let's get over to 257. Here we go. Oh, go back. All right, so they do a really nice out-of-bounds play with Manu, and I want to show this to you because I always like a good out-of-bounds play. As you saw, like we broke down in our Game 1 breakdown, Pop ruled this one. So they're going to use Ginobili. He's always the most dangerous guy in an out-of-bounds play because the defense tends to turn toward where the ball gets passed and forget about him. So watch Manu. Just watch Manu on this. They flash Duncan high. They bring Parker over to the corner. Is that Parker? Yeah. And so watch. It's a give and go right back to Ginobili. Oh, beautiful little backdoor cut as Reggie Jackson got out of position. And then look at that. That's an incredible scoop shot, like underhanded scoop from outside the lane off the glass. That's a really hard play. But remember, they drew it up that way because they knew that Manu was a lefty on that side. It's probably the only way you can make that pass, that shot. Now, KD comes back and shows the same kind of cleverness here where basically, watch, KD always loves to get this pin down, right? So they're just going to run. This is motion weak, by the way, for the Spurs. They send the point guard in a shallow cut around. And then watch KD. This is the real sauce here, where he's going to get a pin down from Perkins here. But Manu is going to start to look, take a step up, and that's once he gets that, no contact on KD. Russell Westbrook. By the way, there's no pressure on Russ to make an easy pass. And a lot of times, the best way to stop an alley-oop like this is to pressure the ball and don't let him stand there and hold it and make it easy for him. Boom! They throw it up there. Easy pass, easy dunk. Nice. Now we come right back down and. The Spurs are going to run horns. Okay, so here's horns. Well, and here's what I like about the Spurs horns is they can break into it out of some motion. So a little pitch here. Oh, I called the foul. That's why. So they out of the timeout. Okay, this is horns. Make no mistake, the guy inbounds it to the top, and I love the fact you can break out of your sideline out of bounds play into an offensive set. And he's going to sprint to the corner, and then they're going to run, the alternate double ball screen on both sides. And he gets to choose where he wants to go. So he picks Ibaka to bring him out and drag him out. And now they just simply rescreen again. And normally the rescreen would be back toward the middle, but Duncan pivots and makes it a flat screen. And at this point, it's game on. Tony Parker can isolate one-on-one against Ibaka. And remember, this is the problem. Tony Parker was losing his balance and having trouble. And then there's also trying to challenge him too much. But this is what they were talking about in the pregame was hitting that, kicking it out. Because remember, we saw Diaw open a whole lot on the when Serge would help out a lot like this. So they find him, nice easy pass. And that's the extra pass that Diaw can do for you. They start to scramble. They give up on the Duncan thing. Duncan was still keeping his eye out, wasn't looking up at the rim yet. Boom, nice easy pass, easy finish. That's basketball, folks, and that makes me excited to watch. So let's skip over to 30 seconds left. Okay, so here's the interesting thing where the Thunder get the ball back on a really big break where like the refs were talking, they had to deal with stuff. So this should be an opportunity to call a play, right? It's actually, 33 seconds, there's 22 seconds left on the shot clock, 33 seconds left in the game clock. So they're not going to get, you can kind of go for a 2-for-1 if you inbound it and do it right. And so what they end up getting here is, just a long delay. So they had all the time in the world to get organized, right? So 34 seconds, they put actually another second on the clock. So this is kind of enough time if you run it and get a quick shot. So what do they get? So Russ quickly drives. Let's see here. They actually kind of almost get a help one pass away. Certainly enough he could have kicked it for a nice catch and shoot for Durant. But instead, he turns and makes the harder pass back. This is sort of the things when you're talking about reads and you look at Russell Westbrook's performance. This is not a good read. You would never want to throw it. At the very least, throw it to Reggie out here, who was doing really well. And then Perkins shoots it. In fact, let me just see it one more time because I feel like could Perkins have kicked it out to Durant? So I'm thinking Durant should be cutting up here on the catch. He doesn't. And that would have been a nice, easy pass to Durant for the shot, but instead Perkins throws up a god-awful, ugly shot. And, here they are. They're down by 10, and the game is rapidly getting out of hand for them. So that's a real problem for the Thunder when if the Spurs are doing well, they're hitting their shots, they're being aggressive, and they're getting in the paint and kicking out, if they're doing that, and then the Thunder come down and don't make good decisions in their offense, and the way their offense is structured, it puts so much of the decision-making in their hands, where at the very least in a normal, good structured offense like the triangle or what the Spurs run, generally the normal pass you make is the good decision out of the flow. And with the Thunder, there's only that one pass as opposed to 2 or 3 different passes that would be good decisions. And that's the problem with the whole sort of the foundation of the offense. Does that make sense? So basically, the Spurs have 2 or 3 options for each passer to throw to or to shoot or to drive towards, whereas the Thunder usually only have one option at a time. Throw the ball there, you have to cut there, I got to pass there. Now you have to cut there, you have to cut there, I have to pass there, and this has to be the shot. You know what I'm saying? That's how rote the Thunder offense is, and that's how good they are that Russ and KD can still score off of that. So you can only imagine if they were a part of another offense like the Spurs run. Geez, they'd be even better than they are now. Let's run back over to Twitter and do our last round of questions on Twitter, see what we get there. And this is a really great stuff, though. I'm really happy with all the questions. You guys are asking great ones. So let's see here. Did it skip ahead of me again? I really wish that Twitter wouldn't do that. All right. Why does Brooks insist on playing Fisher and Butler instead of Lamb? I don't know. I mean, Butler was doing okay for them earlier in the playoffs, but if you look at his numbers tonight, Butler was in 13 minutes 0 for 3, 2 points, 4 rebounds, and some fouls. He got away with a foul. So I don't know. I think that at the very least, Lamb should get some of those minutes, but he's going to go with the veterans who have the experience, and some days they're okay, some days they're not. Do the Spurs need to be worried about their inconsistency on their offense, even if they put the Thunder away? I mean, it's a worry because it does elude them at times, but it's the process, and as long as they can kind of keep playing the right way or try to play the right way, it's all Popovich can ask for. So I don't think the Thunder have any chance of beating the Spurs in Game 7 in San Antonio. I don't think it almost never happens. The home team wins like a huge percentage of the time. So yeah, so the Spurs are in really good shape. That was the key game, as Game 5s almost always are. Are Jackson and Ibaka wearing down playing so many minutes? It's unclear. We don't know how Ibaka's leg is feeling. I haven't really heard him talk about it. So but yeah, there's no question those injuries they had are the kind that are tough to recover from. Do I think that Brooks would put Ibaka on Duncan instead of putting him in the perimeter guard in stretch 4? Well, they can't do that unless they bench Perkins. And if they bench Perkins, yeah, then play Ibaka at the 5. That's fine. And that should be, I mean, that would be interesting because I was calling for Duncan to post him up more when they did get switches onto him, and they didn't. But that would be an alternative. Is Perkins has got to sit. Why did Joseph not play longer after impressing last game? Joseph, I think he got a run at a time when the game was a bit out of hand, and that was not always so indicative of how he would do. Clearly, Patty Mills is better than Joseph, so that's who's going to get the run. Bonner may be statless in the box score, but he was definitely a stat full in preventions. Okay, Alfredo's got his preventions for us. Let's see what he said. 4 shots. So he prevented 4 shots, which generally means for Alfredo is that he contested them and they missed. 1 possession and 2 helps. Okay, good stuff. We'll have to take a look at that. So Bonner, yeah, Bonner on defense was okay. He just kind of struggled on offense. The home court has a big impact on consistency. They're more comfortable. They're sleeping in their own beds. Spurs win Game 6. I don't feel great about them winning Game 6 in OKC. I really don't. The minutes Tim, Tony, and Manu played. Yeah, that's true. That's a really good point. Compared to Durant played 36 and Westbrook played only 30. So at least they got Russ some rest out of all this. But yeah, the Spurs are going to be really rested. Let's see here. Reggie Jackson didn't look the same after the first quarter. Can the Thunder win without him playing? We already answered that question. Has Westbrook been OKC's best player in the series, not Durant? Wow. Maybe. Russ has played. No, I don't know. Russ has had some real bad moments as well. It's interesting. We have to look at the numbers and see what the averages are, even though I don't always love to do that. Let's look at that overall and figure it out, and I can let you know on Twitter. Do you think that the Thunder's inconsistency will hurt them in the long run? Well, yeah. I've been saying this for the whole time that's what's going to hurt them at a championship level, which is where we are now, basically. No way two players can pull off a Game 7 series against a complete team. I feel that way too. I agree with you, Kevin. What adjustments do I anticipate from Brooks next game? Let's see here. I think that Perkins is going to get even less minutes. I think that's his adjustment. If Jackson cannot go, who starts him for him? That's interesting. I wonder if they go to Collison? They do Westbrook? No. What would that be? No, that would be like Durant is playing the two guard. No, they're probably going to have to go. Wow, that's a great question. Who starts? I don't know. Fisher? I don't know who starts if it's going to be Jackson that can't go. We have to figure that out. What would be the best way to get you OKC bench unit rolling? Well, actually, that's not true. They'd go back to their starting lineup before, which would be Perkins and Ibaka and Durant, Russ, and Cephalosha might get the start then, which is weird because he didn't even play. Oh, he played 7.5 minutes tonight in the garbage time. Is it weird that they were only showing Pop's huddle speeches? Is that what happened, really? Maybe there wasn't much to show for OKC. No, I think Diao helped. Bonner, I don't think it helped them as much. Diao helped, and then the notion that they would drive and kick for the open shot, Ibaka's man, because Ibaka was getting ridiculous with how much he was helping off of his man. Okay, I disagree. Length is their biggest issue. It just makes it hard to deliver. Okay, I believe I said athletic ability and length. I thought I said length. Greg versus Phil, who do you take as your head coach? That's the hardest question in the world because they're both equally good, and I don't know. I don't know what I would do. I can't even pick right now. Was going over between the last screens when Parker came around the world. What's a wrinkle to counter that? Russ has to maintain to simply chase. That's how you have to guard that. Chase and have the big man bump a little bit to take away any curls, and then hope for the best. That play is that good. So, sports fans, I think we had a great live show tonight. I got to get into doing a breakdown right away of figuring something out here and figure out what we're going to spotlight on. So let me get over to that and stay tuned for it. If you haven't seen, Ronnie Nunn came on today. We broke down all 5 of LeBron James's fouls and whether or not they were legit. We also broke down what Lance was doing on his antics, and we also showed the flops of both and discussed the flops of both Lance and Hibbert. So definitely check that out in our queue before our breakdown comes out tonight of this game. And thanks for joining us, sports fans. And don't forget, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel, we're a conversation. You win,